All right. Welcome back to the GitLab Duo coffee chat. Today we are trying a different format. Like we want to dive into a challenge, and I'm joined by Alana. Would you shortly introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Alana Bellucci, and I'm the Senior Product Manager for Threat Insights, and we've been working on the AI features for security at GitLab.
Exactly, and this is why it came like we're coming from explaining a vulnerability to fixing a vulnerability or like mitigating. And we thought about maybe we can try a new feature. Or I think currently explain its vulnerabilities in beta, right? Or
Yep.
vulnerability resolution. That's the feature name.
So we have two different features actually. We have explain this vulnerability, which is in beta. So that gives you an explanation around what the vulnerability is a little bit more than maybe the description gives you or said with generative AI. And then we also have a button for vulnerability resolution that will open an MR to fix that vulnerability. Right now, this is just available on the vulnerability records, so not in that MR finding setting. And only for SAST.
Okay, so when we test this out now, when we look into it, just looking, I'll quickly share my screen. I'm looking at the documentation right now. Just figuring out this is the correct window. We have GitLab Duo and vulnerability summary. No, that's not what I'm looking
Yep,
for.
nope, that's the one. Vulnerability summary and then vulnerability resolution are both in there.
Okay, so it's now so to speak separated from what I previously knew. Okay. Oh, we can actually see the new tiering as well. Okay, yeah, we'll like explore that in a bit. And oh, did I click on the wrong link? Oh, it's actually going into the same
But it's going to the same
anchors.
one. There should be a vulnerability yeah, I can fix
Yeah,
that.
we can fix the documentation later.
Yep.
It's just an anchor. But yeah, the
So
most
this is actually slightly different. Resolve with vulnerability. This is where we leverage the idea for vulnerability resolution with AI. Today, for dependency scanning and container scanning, we don't really need AI. There's a suggested solution already within the vulnerability. So I think you actually are going to want to go to, I see it here on the page. You're going to want to go to this vulnerability resolution because that's where we're using AI, whereas resolve with vulnerability, this is for dependency and container scanning versus the one up top is for SAST. We will probably eventually collapse the two. So that way you just have one button and it recommends a fix. But this is just where we're at right now with that experiment in the AI feature.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think like having a summarized overview or maybe like creating subpages, if you will, so that I can like focus on either fixing SAST or dependency container scanning. Probably I want to have everything in a specific way of saying, please provide me with a suggested fix so I can focus on the important parts in the future.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, yeah, it's ultimate source. And everything is documented. So I shouldn't be, or we don't need to prepare anything. What I did earlier, what I prepared for this session was I was thinking about a security vulnerability, and I had some code lying around which is written in C and in Python. And spoiling it, going away from the spoiler, I imported that. I also imported some vulnerable demos, which I found in an awesome vulnerable apps repository on the internet, which shows some OWASP. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly.
Yeah, OWASP.
OWASP. OWASP.
Yep.
And And I was just curious, like, what are the vulnerabilities for web application, for SQL injection, and so on. I do know that we're like looking at SAST now, but it's a good resource to also have some insights of, hey, I want to test this specific scanner or have a vulnerability available. And then I created a merge request with all that data, or with all the different things inside, just to being able to trigger the security scanner. So the changes which are made in here are a Python code which has a secret, but this is not what we're looking at today. But here's a C code example which has a vulnerability with copying a string into a buffer, but without bounds. So the SAST scanner should, the SAST scanner should tell us about this. This is also a new feature in 16.7 or 16.8, I think.
Yeah, those inline vulnerability findings for SAST.
Yeah, which I discovered by accident preparing a demo for GitLab Duo, vulnerability explanations, I think. Okay, and this one called chmod without. Oh no, it's using chmod 777, which is world readable and writable, and which is not best practice. And everything else are like the submodules. And there's also, if we want to do container scanning in the future, it's important a vulnerable container image. And then I thought of, okay, now that we have so many amazing security vulnerabilities here, how to explain them and how can we fix them. And I think you mentioned that the resolution is not available in merge request widget yet.
Oh, so both the resolution and the explanation are just available for those vulnerability records, and those vulnerability records have to be on the default branch. So we would need to merge this into main before we could start to leverage those AI features. We do plan to bring these features and shift them left into this view, so you could have that explanation and then that proposed resolution. But for the experiment and beta, those are not available right now.
Yeah, that's fair. We'll just need to make sure that everyone who's watching this now knows about this, and we will bring that into the merge request widgets in the future.
Yep.
Okay, then I need to change the draft. Mark is ready. And closing my eyes and clicking on merge. But in this case, it's really just a demo repository.
You have some of those same vulnerabilities, some SAST vulnerabilities already on main from a previous merge request.
I do have them on main here.
Okay.
So if I
Let's
click
take a
on
look.
them. So what we want to do here is like look into the vulnerability report and figure out what does this mean, like chmod, what does it do? It is a check of time of use vulnerability, and I as a developer might not be able to like understand what's going on, or like what could be the problem. And the first thing I can do is like using explain this vulnerability, which requires me to like send over the context to the prompt, and I hopefully then get a summary and an explanation. And in my experience, it's also providing me with some sample source code to fix the problem.
Yep, and just so like if you were concerned at all about AI, we have the options where you can send with that code snippet that you have from your SAST vulnerability, and then we also showed the prompt ahead of time, so that way you know exactly what is being sent to that third-party API, and trying to make sure that you feel comfortable with what is happening. if you send with code, it's going to give the AI a little bit more context and it'll make it more specific to what you are trying to understand and fix.
Oh, yeah, that's really great. I saw that there was actually like a prompt. I would love to have that in different scenarios myself. Just to being able to understand how the prompt is instructed and maybe use that. I don't know about like if we change the security side pane into Duo Chat in the future or not. But maybe like having a conversation with GitLab Duo and then say, okay, you explained the vulnerability to me. Maybe you can like refine the fix for this specific architecture or give me more context about why this could cause a business to lose millions of dollars or something like that. I'm just thinking out loud and throwing feature requests into the void.
Okay.
I hope we will implement many features, but there's no promises being made. I could also then like, if I reset that quickly, say if I remove that send code prompt, what will it send? Oh, I clicked on the wrong thing.
So it just removes that snippet, and so it'll be a little bit less specific than it was previously.
Yeah, but still it knows a lot about the context and also the CWE number and so on, which is helpful to like create an example how this can look like, how the attacker can use that.
And so, as you noticed, there is still a lot of context in there, and we do, in our documentation, we call out exactly what is sent to the third-party API. And that does include like the CWE identifier, things like that.
Yeah, and I think sending that data without the specific source code is fine. I'm also like thinking of a friend of mine working in the C++ area, and they cannot share any IP or any code. So they probably will either need to review the source code which is being sent, or they just go with like the prompt without the source code, depending on the requirements. Still, it's great that we implemented this so early, so we have access controls. And the benefit is I, as a developer, can better understand the vulnerability, get an idea how an attacker could think to actually like exploit that in a specific sense. The only thing for me is like this is a lot to understand. It takes a while, so I was wondering like maybe we can automate the fix thing and have AI understand the source code and also being able to provide a fix. And I don't know if this will work, but I want to try it, which brings us like to the magic button over here.
Yep. And so I just want to highlight part of the reason why we've separated the explanation from the resolution is because generative AI is non-deterministic. So what you get in the explanation might be slightly different than what you see in this resolution. But this resolution will open an MR to get you started on the fix for the vulnerability.
Okay, I'm super curious. I have never clicked on this button before. I want to see what happens.
Ready?
Oh, immediately generates. Okay.
So it'll automatically generate that merge request for you, and then it'll run back through your pipelines. So you can test to see if the vulnerability is fixed before setting it to merge.
So it creates a Git. Okay, it creates a Git branch with a name. So it follows a name pattern. I also can like see the chmod and then probably some ID number in the background. Interesting. Okay, I can see Okay, it checks for an error code, which is good. Refresh. And have the different scanners run. I mean, scanners need to run a little bit.
And it looks like your subgrep SAST, which is what would test to see if this is if the vulnerability is remediated, still needs to run. Yeah, third from the bottom.
Yeah. But yeah, since it's C code, semgrep will trigger for SAST. And I could potentially help speed it up by running it on my own runners. But yeah, the job succeeded. Can go back into the merge request.
So let's look at, it looks like security scanning detected no new potential vulnerabilities.
We have the merge request. The merge request is merged. Should it kind of resolve itself?
So we have an issue on our roadmap where we will automatically resolve vulnerabilities that are no longer detected, because this is something that I think customers run into a lot, where they don't want to have to go back in and be like, oh wait, this was fixed. But we don't have that yet. So what you can do is you could either go in and manually fix it, or you can rerun the scans and it should show up as no longer detected.
Okay.
Let's
Maybe I'm also hitting a race condition because the merge into main didn't trigger the security scans yet.
Okay, that could also be it. Let's give it a couple minutes because it should show up as no longer detected.
Because this pipeline is still running.
It's still running. Okay.
And the SAST job, next time I remove all the scanners, which we don't need, but the SAST job is still running. So yeah, it's taking a little while, and I'm also using the default shared runners. I'm not using any like upgraded versions, because I know that we have medium and large runners available as well, but usually I don't need them.
So while we're waiting for this to run, let's think about a situation where the AI that opened a merge request to fix the vulnerability, it didn't actually fix it. It gave a suggestion, but the fix didn't work. I think something that we could play around with there is, can code suggestions then help you?
So if we kind of imagine now that we have a problem, and we don't know how to fix it. So
yeah, we've opened the vulnerability resolution. We've opened that merge request, but in the merge request security widget, it's still it's showing as still detected, and we're not sure where to go from there.
Okay, so what we different merge request. So I mean, this is C code. Making up a security vulnerability is always fun.
Well, what if we let's go back to the vulnerability report. Because I think there were some SAST related vulnerabilities that were just SQL injections.
And I think
we try one of those.
I think I also have one. Can I show? Oh, I can show 100 items. I was wondering if I still have a vulnerability in the C function, because we fixed the chmod, and I was wondering about the string copy, which is an example which we can try to fix with code suggestions. So if I open that, I can see that this is a copy out of bounds. And I can try to resolve that.
Yeah.
But we can like also open the merge request using the Web IDE, for example, or locally. And let's see what it does. Okay, it does what it should be doing. But for some reason, no, this is actually a good example. This C code doesn't make any sense. Because we are copying that with like setting the buffer -1, which is the end of the buffer. This line makes sense. The second line with initializing region at the end with like this string and this colon doesn't make sense. So something is wrong with the prompt probably to fix
Okay.
it.
Yeah. Should we open the IDE and see if there's something we should be changing?
Yeah, we can use the Web IDE in this regard. If it doesn't work, I can also switch to Visual Studio Code. And we can like we can also send the merge request for feedback because let me see. Now I have to actually I don't want to see the split view. Can I remove that somehow?
Sometimes what I do is I just click on the file again over on the left-hand navigation. So to get rid of the split view, I just go to here. And then I get just the text edit.
No, I did something wrong. Oh, you mean that.
There you go.
Yeah, sometimes I'm a little confused myself with things. So what I said, this doesn't make any sense. What I can do is right click and say, explain this to me. So I can ask Duo chat meanwhile, which is a strategy I also know that Duo chat is in beta right now, so it's also sometimes the responses might lack the context. But I found it helpful to getting an explanation from any code generation or any code suggestion, which can be a helpful way. And if you need to copy strings, it's problem is it's C code. It's hard to understand or hard to explain. The problem is the string copy doesn't check the destination buffer or if the destination buffer is large enough. This is great. This is exactly what the problem is. So this will lead to buffer overflow vulnerability if the source string is larger than the original buffer. Okay. Or use a different function. And I said earlier, this specific thing, this would just initialize the string into that region. What we can do is, yeah, exactly. This is code suggestions now. We want to actually terminate the string with like a 0 byte, if you will, at the end. So it's hard terminated. So this is a great suggestion which I can accept using the tab command. Which is exactly what I want now from opening the merge request for the vulnerability resolution and adapting and fixing it myself. What I can't do now is compile the source code. For that, I would need a remote development workspace or have my local environment. But we can still commit that. And also, if we want to, let's see if I can quickly write CI/CD configuration for that. image GCC. No, this one GCC script.
So you're going to compile it in your
Yeah.
CI/CD, and then that way when the pipeline runs, you know that it's compiled correctly.
So I try to remember the source. I think it's called GCC-O. Let's call it GitLab Duo. And from this source, I think this should work. I'm not entirely sure, but this could be a quick fix if I don't have anything available, and potentially this exists already because it's in my project. But let's see. Improve security fix add build job, and with command enter you can like commit that, and we can go back to the merge request. So we have that here, and then we should have changes over here. Hopefully it works. Pipeline is pending. Pipeline is running, so at least I can still write YAML. Okay, now I made a mistake. Build should be actually in the build stage, but if I don't specify the stage, it will be executed in the test stage. Let's fix that. CI/CD stage. Yeah, this is me, the perfectionist. I cannot answer.
Hey, no, that's okay. I'm glad you fixed it.
Also because I love the fail fast pattern in CI/CD, so I don't want to wait for too long if the source code doesn't compile, for example, or if there was like a problem. Actually, the Docker build probably should get its own stage. So only when the source code compile works, should trigger the Docker build, and in parallel run the security checks. But yeah, in this case, not sure why the pipelines are so slow today, but maybe they didn't catch up from the weekend. Let's see what build is doing. What I could also do is not just pull the image from Docker Hub every time, but for example, use the dependency proxy in GitLab to cache the images, or build my own container image, which is based on the GCC one. Implicit declaration of exit. Oh, this has nothing to do with the source code we fixed. The error says maybe you forgot something, but the great thing is there's another feature from in GitLab Duo, which is called root cause analysis, and I like using that. We also send data to third parties, so there's this requirement to understand that this context will be sent over. I want to see whether it's able to help me understand, unless I want to go ahead and copy the standard library include header, which for some reason is not included in the project. And if I talk too much, low level, blah, blah, please let me know.
And I think it's okay. We want to fix, there's some things that we need to fix here. So it looks like maybe, yeah, one other update. Does the root cause analysis, is what's the third-party API that one uses? Do you know?
I don't know, but I know there's documentation. So I think somewhere
I think I actually saw it above in the list. Yeah, root cause analysis is right up there.
The language models and root cause analysis is using the Vertex AI model.
Okay, so it is also another piece of generative AI that you can use layered on top of what we've already done so far today.
Exactly, and we wanted to like focus more on security, but typically when we test something or we generate something, we make a mistake, and then you get to see all the different GitLab Duo features over time, which I think is great because you cannot plan that. You just need to test things out and then run into a problem. And now that we have seen that root cause analysis summarized the problem and proposed the fix, and the great thing is here's a copy button. It's something which is more helpful than like trying to parse what the console is doing. And we still have the IDE open, so we can move here and std string std. Yeah, okay, this is the right order. So I'm trying to sort it alphanumeric.
Okay. Keep track of it.
But I also do know that there's linters and code styling tools that enforce that. So fix missing include. Let's commit that, and then the pipeline should run again. Can close that. Move into the merge request again. And now it should run through, or it should build. And the scanner should work. I'm just checking the time.
While
Honestly,
we're waiting for that to run, should we go back and look at that other vulnerability for chmod and see if it is still detected on that vulnerability report?
And every time we say we want to check something, CI/CD thinks, "Oh, I need to finish, so you can look at me again."
If it finishes, if it's like a watch pot never boils. Like if you're looking at your pipelines, they'll never finish. But if you don't need to, then they're done.
Can read our minds, even though we are like a lot of miles away from each other. But the other CI/CD builds are still running, so we can like peek into the vulnerability report, filter by SAST again, and search. Does chmod still in there? But this is the old vulnerability we attempted to fix. So it's not auto-resolved by merging the merge request, which we discussed earlier. So probably, yeah, this is the only one on this page, and I don't have anything anymore. So what I can do now is, since I know it's fixed, I can select that and resolve that. Resolved through MR. I don't know what's the best message here, but
I think as long as you have something that's helpful.
Yeah, providing as much context as possible. And since I think the merge request is visible and linked, my team can look into that and say, okay, in the merge request, there's the explanation for the fix, and it's okay being dismissed. At least I'm trying to also write good Git commits and merge request titles if possible, because I know myself in a year I have no idea what I did in that merge request if it just says build fix whatever. And this is a true story. I did that 10 years ago and I learned it the hard way that this is not a good idea. But yeah, we have we mitigated this one, and we still have our merge request, where AI helped us a little bit, and we tried to fix or improve the fix ourselves. So right now we have
oh, interesting. It's still picking up that. Maybe we opened this merge request before that one was fully merged.
yeah, so right now we have the problem. I think I saw that somewhere that the merge request is 1 ahead and 2 behind or something like that.
Okay.
So it's, if I would be merging this, I think so if we look at the commits, commits in main. No, this is not what I'm looking for. But if I look at my changes compared to main, these are my changes. I'm not sure why it picks up this.
Can you go back to the changes real quick? I noticed what looks like there might still be some vulnerable code. Can we click on this info right here?
Ah. Properly listed and not null terminated. Okay, this is a different finding now. This is not semgrep, this is flaw finder, which says string copy is considered insecure. Maybe let's use snprintf. But it's more like a code quality issue rather than detected as a vulnerability, as far as I
Which is
understood it.
probably why it came up as info versus critical or high. So
Exactly,
probably
because
okay.
from my understanding and my experience in like 10 or 15 years writing C code, this code is okay now. I potentially would rewrite it following the suggestion using snprintf, but opinions differ in that regard. What I can do is, and just looking at the time, okay, 5 minutes maybe now, we can say we are selecting the source code and ask GitLab Duo chat to refactor that. So I can right click here, say GitLab Duo chat and say refactor, which then opens the GitLab Duo prompt again. And it's trying to refactor the source code. I could also use the /refactor code task with a more refined prompt and say refactor that using snprintf if the current suggestion is not sufficient for me. Okay, yeah, it tries to calculate the source length and ensure there's a null termination. But I could also like use refactor, use snprintf instead. I'm not sure if this works, but I learning by doing and learning by testing it out. Thorsten told me like that you can just add text to the code task prompt in order to give better instructions what to expect. Oh, that's interesting. I'll make this a little more bigger. So it uses snprintf to print that in there and then checks for errors. That's nice. Yeah, this is also something when in combination with GitLab Duo using chat code tasks to refine the vulnerability resolution proposal in the merge request, or use code suggestions. So everything like goes together, I would say, which I think is super helpful, because if I remove everything from my mind now and think 10 years ago, fixing a security vulnerability or CVE, and everyone is calling and doing pressure or putting pressure on the development team. I have no idea how to fix that. So yeah, I think this was a great learning curve today, and I would probably say for today we stop, or we call it a day. I don't know.
Yeah, I think this is a good stopping point. It seems like we started wanting to fix the vulnerability, and we were able to do that, but we were able to layer in a lot of our other AI features to continue moving forward and coming up with the best solution. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for joining today. Everything we tried out today will be linked in the video recording as always.
Great.
Yeah, looking forward to the next challenge.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Michael.